And greetings and welcome to the QCast. This is season 5, episode 56. Thanks to episode 55 guest Nick Roper for joining me to share the exciting news of him heading to the University of Chicago for a grad year. Crazy times in Region 8. Nick Roper with a Maroons jersey. Also want to say happy Memorial Day to everyone. Thank you to everyone that has served our country and those that have paid the ultimate sacrifice. We're thinking of everyone today. Have a great Memorial Day. Some of these QCast guests, often I'll get someone saying, like, how could you not have had that person on yet? And I'll be like, yeah, I don't know. This gentleman would be in that category. Matt Goldsmith, the new head coach at Middlebury. I feel like you should have been on a few years ago. Like, do you feel snubbed, or where do we stand on all this, Coach Goldsmith?
Yeah, no. First off, Bob, just honored to get my invite and be here for the QCast. I've been patiently waiting and not snubbed at all. There's plenty of fantastic characters and great guests out there. So I was patiently waiting my turn in line. I will say that over the past year, I decided to start poking at you on Twitter a little bit and see
Yeah,
if I could
yeah.
get you restless. And we're here, so it must something must have worked.
And I think that Twitter poking was around like, I pick stats and I draw lines in like the NPI, and you're like, well, if you went two more down, like another NJAC team would get in your list. And I kept telling you, my stats, my list, coach, correct?
Yeah, no, you were 100% correct. Every time we would move up in the MPI, your stats would go down
Right.
and would cut us back out again. So it was fine. I liked the game. It was fun to me.
Well, I will say, there's two leagues that are always mad at me, the NESCAC and the NJAC, and I feel like they're both represented here. So we'll just have to navigate this QCast, coach. But
Yeah.
in all seriousness, wow, what big news to hit Division 3. Middlebury job obviously opens. Coach Jeff Brown leaves. We'll talk about Coach Brown in a second. And what a competitive field that must have been, vying for the Middlebury men's basketball job. Got announced that was you. Congratulations. Matt, some of these people I talk to that have new gigs, they're taking over a program where it's kind of a start over, or they're trying to build something that's never been there. This is one of those, I feel like this is one of those like elite jobs, a NESCAC job, a program that has had tremendous success in one of the best leagues in the country. Congratulations. How are you feeling as you enter this new world of yours?
Yeah, I'm super excited. I think you hit it nail on the head there. Middlebury's an incredible job. It's an incredible place. Just yesterday I keep saying we won the women's lacrosse national title. And when you look at jobs across the country, a lot of um, you can really narrow things down by looking at some of that like Directors Cup information.
Yeah.
Middlebury performs really highly in the Directors Cup, so that's ranking all sports across Division 3 and how they do in the NCAA tournament, and they're every year, year in and year out, top five, and there's not a lot of jobs like that out in the country, so I'm super excited to be the new men's basketball coach at Middlebury. I'm super excited to build off what Coach Brown was able to build over his time there and hopefully continue the trend here in the NESCAC.
Now, if I have this right, your official start date is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, is there a chance that something could go so south on the QCast that they change their mind and open this back up? Do we have to be careful, Matt, on the QCast today?
I'll tell you what, maybe if we can just hold off till like 9 a.m. I think I'll have started my HR paperwork by then. So maybe 9 a.m. tomorrow we can release this.
Well, yeah, and tell us a little bit just about the family transition to all this,
Yeah.
because people don't think about all that when they think about coaches moving here and there, but there's huge move and family implications. Where are you at with all that stuff?
Yeah, no, it's probably the toughest part of changing jobs, picking up the family and moving everybody. So my wife and I have 5-year-old twins and a 6-month-old who was actually born on the night after our first game of the season this year, Tucker. So yeah, we're trying to get everybody settled in. I think we're gonna be like officially moved in up there August 1. But throughout the summer, I'll probably be bouncing up and down a little bit. So, yeah, I mean, that's by far the trickiest part. I think when I got into the business, I wasn't married yet. And, when good opportunities came, it didn't really matter where or, how much you were making or anything. You're just jumping at every opportunity. And a lot of has changed in the 10 years since I've been a head coach at TCNJ. And so, we're really excited. I think it's going to be a great move for the family once we get settled in up there. But yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into it that you wouldn't necessarily think about on the face of things when looking at guys changing job to job.
We mentioned Jeff Brown, who is retiring. I don't think that is official yet. I think the effective date is somewhere soon. But Coach Brown is retiring after 28 seasons, 457 wins. He's the winningest coach at Middlebury. I saw Jeff at the Final Four this season. He's been on the QCast. Really a legendary coach in the NESCAC. Talk a little bit, Matt, if you would, about the gentleman that you're replacing at Middlebury.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Brown, obviously, I had plenty of experience in the NESCAC and was able to kind of watch really from when my playing days and then into the mid 2000s when I was an assistant coach again at Amherst College and kind of watching Coach Brown and what he was able to build over the years at Middlebury. And yeah, it was just extremely impressive. And again, I think the thing that's most impressive to me is the run he made consecutively. I think a lot of schools and a lot of coaches can get into the NCAA tournament one time, couple times in 5 years, this and that. But Coach Brown went. I think it was like 12 out of 14 seasons he was
Right.
in an NCAA tournament. So that's really special. I mean, there's like five guys in the country who could say something like that. So to be taken over for him is super exciting. There's big shoes to fill. I'm just going to try to have a solid transition here and make sure, he feels welcome in the program that he built over the last 28 years. And we're going to hopefully try to continue to go on an upward trajectory here and continue the trend.
You're coming to Middlebury after 10 really successful seasons at the College of New Jersey, TCNJ. I think you guys won the first NJAC title in over a decade while you were there. Ended up winning a couple of those. I believe it was 3 NCAA tournament appearances, 153 wins. I know it's always hard leaving a place that's been so good to you. Talk a little bit about your run at TCNJ and kind of walking away from all that.
Yeah, I will be eternally grateful to the College of New Jersey for giving me a chance when I was 29 years old and just an assistant and going down there and just having support of everybody at the college. It was an incredible 10-year run. By far, the toughest part, the toughest two parts of the job has been sorting out the family situation and obviously talking to my guys at TCNJ because I love those guys. I will love them as we move forward. I'm their biggest fan. But yeah, eternally grateful. I mean, again, I was 29 years old. I hadn't really accomplished anything as the decision maker. And they saw something in me and kind of allowed me to grow into a coach. Like I made plenty of mistakes early on, but because of our history over, the last 20 years or so, no one really knew that because people weren't really following along in our program. So it was a great like laboratory to be able to make those mistakes and learn from them and kind of grow into who I was as a coach because anytime you take over a program as an assistant, really all you're doing is what you think your old boss was going to do.
Right.
You're just like, well, it's almost like those bracelets. It's like what would Hixon do? Like that's like what my I was thinking every day when I got into the office. So over the years, I was able to kind of establish what my personality would look like as a leader and what really matters to me and what I value. And again, that experience is I can't pay anyone back enough for what TCNJ gave to me and what we were able to accomplish over those the 10 years with the program. And I feel really good about it. And I feel strong that it's going to be able to kind of continue to grow without me now that I'm leaving.
And just a quick question about the NJAC. I mentioned that I do feel like people always think that, I don't like the NJAC. I actually do. It's just such a competitive league.
Yeah.
It's a league, Matt, where it seems like everyone is so balanced. Every year, it's hard to figure out, like when you're voting in the poll, who the heck to vote for because the standings are so mushed up at the top.
Yeah.
Montclair State, Ramapo, Stockton, TCNJ, Keene, Rowan, et cetera. Really, really competitive league that historically, without question, is one of the top five leagues in NCAA Division III when you look at the history of Division III. Talk about what being in the NJAC was like.
Yeah, it was an adjustment for sure coming from the NESCAC down to NJAC. I think in the NJAC, um, it it is not surprising when the 10th seed
Sure.
upsets the 1 or 2 seed on a Wednesday night at home. I think it's just something that happens on a year-to-year basis, and what you're trying to do as a head coach or leading a program is hoping and preparing and hoping that that's not your team, right? Because those games come into major effect when the NJAC tournament seedings come out and things of that nature. So it is a big jumble. I think the good thing about the last few years in the NJAC was that there was a bit of a separation from the top four
Yeah.
to the rest, and I think that helped the league in a great way because while we were all beating up on each other, we were mostly winning the rest of our games. So it led
Right.
to, 4 teams having 18 to 22 wins or whatever, and then us getting 4 teams into the NCAA tournament this year, which was awesome and a great accomplishment for the league. But it is tough. There's a ton of talent. And I always tell people like the hardest part of the NJAC is there is a guy on your scout that you may have in like the fourth hole, 5 hole, who could go for 35
Right.
on a random night. Like, his last game he scored three, and then on Wednesday night in Packer Hall at TCNJ he drops 37, and you're just like the guys are looking at you like, Coach, what's up with this scout? And I'm like, I don't know, I haven't seen him do this yet. I'm sorry.
Talking a little bit about your new league, which is technically your old league because it's
Yeah.
where your background is, which is the NESCAC. Um, as if the NESCAC wasn't hard enough already. I mentioned like you've just got one of these elite jobs in Division III, but Matt, let me tell you the facts here.
Mhm.
There's Williams and Amherst that have kind of been the two premier programs over, I don't know, the last 25 years. So we know all about them and how good they're always going to be. But oh, by the way, I went to the Final Four this year, and Trinity won the national championship, and Wesleyan was already there. Hamilton was in the tournament. There's all kinds of other teams in the league that are good. So, Coach, this is not an easy assignment, is what I'm saying at this point. This is a great league, and so talk about like coming into this thing as a new coach and having to navigate all of the tough programs that you're going to be going up against.
Yeah. Well, first off, I have great respect for all those guys. I saw Coach Cosgrove over the weekend of Trinity a couple weeks ago recruiting and just, congratulated him. And, watching Coach Riley, what he's done at Wesleyan. And obviously, Coach Linton at Tufts had a great year in stock over at Hamilton. I love those guys. I have great respect for them. And because of that, honestly, I'm super excited to be in the league. I think to be the best, you have to beat the best, right? So if we want to compete for national titles, which has always been a goal of mine as a Division III head coach, is to be in that national title mix. I think you have to be able to go through the gauntlet like that in a league like the NESCAC. And I'm really excited for the challenge. I think it'll make our program better at Middlebury. I think it'll make me better as a coach to see their adjustments and again having those one-off games where you gotta, there's a lot of stakes when you play everybody one time, and you gotta come in with a great game plan and really prepared on a night-to-night basis. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be awesome. I definitely think there's going to be some lumps, and I'm going to take some lumps and learn a lot, and it might be tough every now and then, but again, I think that's the best part of being a Division III basketball coach is you can kind of go through those tough moments, learn from it, and again, continue to grow and improve as a coach. So I'm excited for what it's gonna, to meet the challenge and what that challenge is gonna end up, creating within our program and myself as a coach.
It really was like a really deep year last year for the NESCAC. I guess we could say that every year when I was rattling off teams. I mean, I forgot to mention Tufts,
Hmm.
like how good they were last year. And so it is one of these leagues where if you win it, you're one of the national championship favorites. There's, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 leagues we could say that about, that when you come out of that league, you're ready to do some damage and go to a Final Four. You played at Amherst, so you attended Amherst, played at Amherst during an incredible run. You were part of a national championship team in 2007. You graduated that next year.
Hmm.
2007 would have been what, Andrew Olson
Yeah.
as a first team All American, a whole bunch of other dudes. What do you remember about that national championship season with Coach Hixon and just the run the incredible experience that must have been, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, just super special. I can still, picture the confetti falling down and getting your hat in Salem back in the day. So, yeah, it was just really special. I don't think my class really understood how lucky we were at the time. We went to 3 straight Final Fours,
Yeah.
sophomore, junior, and senior year. And then ended up losing to Wash U senior year in the national title game. So, um, it was an incredible time, and I'll cherish those memories for a long time. And to see kind of like the banner still hanging up in Lafrac Gymnasium of what we were able to accomplish was just, again, it's just special, and to do it with Coach Hixon and some of my best friends in the world, you can't really beat it. That's why we all compete. That's why we choose to play at a school like Amherst and a Division III. And then, coming back as an assistant, we were able to do it again in 2013, which was even cooler
Yeah.
in a lot of ways because it was down in Atlanta during the Final Four. So that was a really special year as well. But yeah, those memories, you'll be able to tell your grandkids about those moments, which there's not a lot of those in your life.
Your sophomore year, I was just remembering this before we came on, is that, and I use this as a verb. So my guys got Tauntaun Balinga'd in the
Yep.
nationals. I think we were up 8 kind of late, is all I
Yeah.
remember. And this Tauntaun Balinga went crazy.
Yeah.
And then Illinois Wesleyan plays Amherst. So our teams have played
Yeah.
together. Coach, were there any? I know that wasn't the game you wanted to be playing in. It certainly wasn't the one we wanted to be playing in. Do you have any memories of playing in the third place game, or is that just such a disappointing fog that you like wipe that out?
Well, one of my most distinct memories of that weekend is that I think Virginia Wesleyan was in the lead for like a minute of the weekend, and
Correct.
Patton made 2 massive baskets in the under a minute in both those games. I don't think anyone wants to be in the third place game. We always used to joke that 2 teams would enjoy Saturday night, the first place team and the fourth place team, because 2 and 3 always thought they were 1 win away from a national title, right?
Right.
So, the biggest memories, I think I remember there were 2 twin forwards on that
The
roster,
Freemans, Andrew and Zach Freeman.
and
Correct.
a great and an All-American point guard.
Two first team All Americans and Douchis and Emilianovic, and then Zach Freeman was a first team All American the next year.
Yeah, that I remember Douches really well. So it was a third place game, but I can recall that scout a little bit.
Yeah, it was a fair. I just connected the dots on that before we started. What a run you had at Amherst, and obviously then you mentioned you were part of the national championship team as an assistant coach in 2013. That was that cool year where the Final Four was all with the Division One. Was that Mary Hardin Baylor that you guys beat in
It
20?
was.
Yeah, so one of those cool things, which I think this year's another one of those years, right? Another one of those cool years coming up where things go to what, Indy. Was obviously, being a NESCAC guy, that had to be a huge driver to you being interested in the Middlebury job. Is that, I mean, fair to say, and talk a little bit about like the desire to get back into the NESCAC?
Yeah, for sure. Again, I think one thing about Middlebury, my eldest brother played football there Graduated in 2001 from Middlebury. So I was going up to football games probably when I was 11, 12 years old, just trailing along on Saturdays, in the fall in New England with my parents. So I've had a relationship and a connection to Middlebury for a long time. The other piece that was really exciting when the job popped up is Kobe Altman, who's the president of the Cavs. He was an assistant at Amherst for Coach Hixon when I was a player, and he's a Middlebury basketball alum.
Sure.
So we had some connections there. So I was able to connect with Kobe about the program. And again, I just think, and when you look across the landscape of Division III basketball, my most likely route is through the academic world, right? That just because of my history as a player and at
Right.
TCNJ. And so, there's, maybe five or six of these like elite academic Division III jobs out there. And not all of them can work for my family, right? Like putting that puzzle together is
Right.
tricky. So Middlebury was just a great opportunity for us, for myself, both the community that I can move my family to, the college, the fit with my, background and resume, and then again the chance to compete for national championships. So when you put all those pieces
Yeah.
together, it's one of those you get really excited about.
Wanted to ask you a few more things. One is about TBT. You've been very involved in the nerd team,
Mhm.
co-GM, head coach. We've got obviously we are D3, but
Mhm.
then your squad with the nerd team too kind of resembles that too. It's you guys have this you guys from a bunch of high academic schools across several levels.
Yeah.
Are you still involved? Like, are you guys ready to roll again this year? Are you still involved, or talk about like your role and how you got involved in all that?
Yeah, so Aaron Toomey and I actually we kind of built the nerd team up back during COVID. We were essentially pretty bored during COVID, as most of us were, and we wanted to coach and find something to do. And to be honest, in full transparency, a lot of these jobs like Middlebury were going to Division I assistants. And to Aaron and I, we kind of felt like, well, maybe this is a like backdoor way of being able to
Sure.
show, yo, we can recruit Division I players, we can coach Division I players, we can coach an Ivy League player, recruit them. And I've been really excited actually, this offseason in general, with myself going up to Middlebury and Waleed getting NYU, just it's exciting to see the D3 guys get some of these opportunities
Yeah.
that over the past, the trends for the past 8 or 10 years were very much the elite Division III jobs were often going to Division I coaches coming back down. So
Right.
I'm excited that that trend is changing a little bit, but a lot of the nerd team was born out of that frustration of just like, we could do like, if the funny thing was like we would always talk about it. So if I was a director of basketball operations and run around getting coffee, it's an important role and it's a great role for a coach early in his career. But just having that on my resume, I would then be able to get some of these, opportunities at these
Right.
other places, right? It was always very frustrating. So, again, I think the trends are leaning in a really great direction because there are just such incredible coaches at the Division III level, guys that like, wow,
Yeah.
they impress me every year. Just the way their ability to adjust and the different schemes they run and how they coach. It's incredible. So I'm excited to see that those guys are getting rewarded a little bit more in the past couple off seasons.
I wanted to ask you about recruiting and building roster at Middlebury because the higher you get up in that high academic world, the funnel gets smaller in terms of the guys that you can go after, and it's very competitive because you've got the UAAs and the NESCACs, et cetera, all looking at the same list of kids across the country, and it's not as big of a list as you think it might be.
Mhm.
I'm curious, do you see you building a roster based on kids out of high school? Will the portal play a role? I've seen the portal thing. Like Illinois Wesleyan's had all high school kids throughout the whole COVID era, not a single transfer. interestingly, they'll start next year. They have a D1 transfer and a D2. So it seems like every program, even the ones that are completely high school based, can't ignore the portal. Where do you stand on that whole like high school recruits versus portal thing?
Yeah, I think it depends on where you are and the program you're a part of and how the school works in a lot of ways, right? There's no graduate school that we can recruit to at Middlebury, which presents challenges to the portal. I think my opinion is that I still believe there's great value in recruiting four-year players out of high school. And I would like the majority of our roster on a year-to-year basis to be that. I do think you have to keep an eye on the portal for the right fit and be able to sprinkle in additions maybe where you see fit into the
Yeah.
program. I think it's really hard to do full portal year-to-year teams.
Yeah.
And I think it's challenging. It's getting more and more challenging to do all high school because so many teams are getting older and older and older. Like I remember watching the national title game this year and just flipping through NYU's roster.
Oh,
There's seven graduate students out of their top seven or whatever, and you're like, and plus, sophomore. But you just look at it like, I don't know how are we really supposed to compete with this with a bunch of 19-year-olds playing against
agree.
23, 24-year-olds?
Yeah, completely agree. I think what I've been saying for a few years, again, probably coming from a school with no grad school that hasn't had any of these fifth year guys really, is that I think this coming year will be the year where we really see the impact of the schools that have recruited high school kids and have this loaded JV team, kids ready to step in. I do think some of the schools that have leaned exclusively on the portal, things will look a lot different now that fifth year's gone, the COVID year. So we'll see. But I do think that the portal is a thing that everyone's got to take a look at. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me to hear you say that you want to be as heavily high school based as you can, but we are in a strange era, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
just a couple more questions for you, Matt, and then I'll let you go. I know you're busy getting ready for everything that's going on with your transition, but um, got to ask you why D3, because you went to a D3 school, assistant coach at a D3, head coach at a D3, now another head coach gig. What is it about this level that you obviously seem to love so much?
Yeah, I think the balance and the ability to be, both a student and a student athlete is really special. And I think a lot of, if you look at the Division 1 level or, wherever, I just think that balance and that joy that you receive of doing something, because you love it, is leaving a lot of levels and kind of being lost. And it's still here in Division 3. It's really cool. These guys pay for school. Maybe they get financial aid or scholarship money from, the academic side of things or whatever. But in general, they're working in the off season because they want to be better, not because we have mandatory 6 a.m. workouts or something. And I just think that's a really special thing and something that if you look forward, like so many Division 3 basketball alums are hyper successful in whatever field they choose, but basketball as well. If you're looking at the NBA right now, and I think there's a reason for that is because we're not worried about when we show up to campus, like our gear bags, because like we're hoping we get a t-shirt, like hopefully you get one t-shirt that you can wear out and show you're part of the program. And then we just want to play basketball and we just want to hoop. And I just think it's a pure level. The kids we're lucky enough to coach are just great. And again, the balance that I'm able to have with three young children, you can't find really at any other level in basketball.
And what I do like about the last 4 years that we've just completed is it has completely squelched the theory that D3 is intramural basketball. I just look at Illinois Wesleyan. We've had 5 kids go play grad years at Division 2 and have better stats at the D2 than they did at the D3. And this Nick Roper kid had 7 Division 1 full scholarships. He
Wow.
had the highest of D2s. So like, yes, Division 2 kids can play way higher, period. It's over. Look at all the kids that went The kid from Whitewater that went to St. Thomas. We could just keep listing these guys that have gone D3 to D1 during the last 4 years. And so well said, as we just want to hoop, right? It's so well said.
Yeah.
Just a couple more very quick things. I got to ask you about Coach Hixon.
Yeah.
You played for this Hall of Fame legendary, one of the most successful coaches in the history of Division III. What was it like playing for Coach Hixon? What do you take from him now that you've been a head coach and are continuing that at Middlebury?
Yeah, I think playing for coach was an incredible experience, obviously. And I think coaching with him was in a lot of ways even better. Just getting, a look at behind closed doors, like how he works and thinks about a program and program building and game planning and things of that nature. I think coach is an extremely thoughtful person. I think the superpower Coach Hickson has is that if you walk into the room and start a conversation with him, he has the ability to drop whatever he was doing and give you his full attention for however long that may take. And I always remember as an assistant thinking this was like crazy. We have Williams Middlebury next week on the road. We're trying to do scouts, and a soccer alum shows up and just walks into the office, and coach shuts down his computer, turns his chair around and hangs out with this guy for an hour and a half. And I'm sitting there, I put my headphones in. I'm like, Coach, we gotta prepare. This is a big weekend. But he always understood the bigger picture, the longer term stuff. And when we were able to go back for his the court naming at Amherst when they named it Coach Hixon Court, um, there was alums from 52 to 2020
Wow.
at the event.
Wow.
It was the most incredible thing I've ever seen. Just spanning, before he was, 20 years before he even entered Amherst, all the
Wow.
way to his final class in 2020. And so his ability to program, build, and connect people and build that family feel is a superpower that I think all of us who have left him have tried to replicate as best we can wherever we have gone. And again, that's something I'm really excited about at Middlebury because Coach Brown has done that for so long, and being able to continue to build on that environment, I think, is a really really cool opportunity.
Yeah. Obviously one of the legendary names in small college basketball, and good to see him get his Hall of Fame dues. Um, Matt, it's been a pleasure to finally have you on. I'll just make a few final thoughts on mine and then turn it over to you to close us out. My first final thought is a selfish one: is please continue to tell your brethren in the NESCAC that I don't hate the NESCAC. I think you're the sixth NESCAC head coach that I've had on the show in the last 2 or 3 seasons, including Jeff Brown, your predecessor, right? So I'm trying. I just don't like the single round robin thing. I just want you guys to play each other twice, or at least get close to that, because I think these numbers get a little dicey the way you guys have this figured out. I don't want to go into that, but I love the NESCAC. It's one of the elite leagues in Division III. Just try to tell people that, if you would, Coach. I'd appreciate that. In all seriousness, really happy for you. Impressed like heck with what you did at TCNJ. I know they're going to miss you like crazy there, but boy, this Middlebury gig seems like the dream one and the one you're made for. So best of luck to you. We'll definitely have you on the show again, and I look forward to that. What would you close us out with, Coach Goldsmith, today on the QCast?
I will relay that message, no problem, up to the NESCAC. And I just want to just give you your flowers here a little bit and appreciation just because your coverage and your commitment to the division and really thoughtful, commentary around Division III basketball. And not a lot of people have that. And you and some other guys just it really makes our job feel special in a way that it might without some coverage or some podcasts or some video stuff. So I really appreciate that. And on behalf of, everybody out there who hasn't been on the QCast yet, thank you. And thanks for having me today. I was excited to get the invite.
Well, best of luck to you, Matt. And again, we'll be rooting for you as you build this thing at Middlebury, just continuing on the great tradition. Shout out to Coach Jeff Brown. Jeff, it was great to see you. If you're tuning into this QCast, great to see you in Fort Wayne. Appreciate everything you've done, including coming on this show. It was great to have you on here, and best of luck to you, Coach Brown. Coach, or folks, that's Matt Goldsmith. He's going to be the brand new head coach starting tomorrow.
Starting
Unless
tomorrow.
something has gone wrong with the QCast, it's effective tomorrow. He's moving up to Vermont, and he's going to build a monster there. So, Matt, thank you so much, and we'll talk soon. Okay, my friend.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Bob.